Hello and welcome to the oddschecker Cheltenham Festival Preview 2021, sponsored by Betfair. This is the Tuesday preview, and I'm your host, George Elek. And then joining me to preview all the action on day one of next week's Cheltenham Festival, from oddschecker, our very own tipster, Andy Holding. Andy, great to have you here for what promises to be a brilliant, brilliant week.
Yeah, I'm glad to be on this podcast with Tony and Barry. Hopefully we can pinpoint in the direction of a few winners. That's what we're here for. It's going to be different this year, of course, doing it from home, racing from home. But once the tapes go up on Tuesday, we'll still get a great buzz. And we can't be there. Obviously, it's a bit of a shame. But next best thing in front of the TV on our armchairs with a nice little cool glass of something. That's not a bad option.
Fingers crossed there'll be champagne after day one, Andy, for all the listeners.
Yeah, that's what we're all dreaming of.
Bit of a spoiler alert there from Andy as to who the other two guests are, but in the Betfair corner, both Tony Calvin and Barry Orr. Tony, great to have you here with us. You joined us for the previews last year as well. There were some concerns when we met last year as to whether or not Cheltenham would go ahead. It did, of course, and it does again next week, but no fans going to be there.
Yeah, just have to suck it and see, isn't there? The worst things going on in the world, isn't there? And my background, I feel a bit light actually, looking at Andy's wallpaper and Barry's bookshelf, and that's a striking picture. What's that picture, Baz?
I think that's the Champion Stakes, Tony.
I can only see the bottom half. Good effort.
I didn't back it, unfortunately. But funny you should say, this time last year, I think the meeting to go ahead was trading at about even money on the Betfair exchange. It was over £4.5 million matched on that market, would you believe? At the time, it was the most visited market. It's only been usurped recently by the next president of the United States of America, which the whole world seemed to wanted to see on Betfair. But yeah, Cheltenham's up there with tucked in those lofty heights.
Well, Barry, I mean, we've seen records broken on the Betfair exchange, as you mentioned, in recent weeks. Surely, with no fans and plenty of people with not much to do and working from home, we're going to see a bit of a bumper week for money matched on the exchange at Cheltenham next week.
Yeah, you'd be anticipating that, and none more so than the kicking off of the Supreme Novices Hurdle. Obviously, last year, would you believe the Supreme Novices Hurdle was our most matched race in terms of volume on the exchange, over £8 million, £8.7 million matched on it. I think that's an indication of how the enthusiasm for the meeting and that people always want to kick off with a winner and get involved in the Supreme Novices Hurdle. So, yeah, and it's got a nice short price favourite in it this time round as well for punters to get stuck into.
It does, and we're going to get onto that fairly soon. But before we do, just a quick weather check, because it is obviously very, very important to do so. I mean, all of the tips and selections that we're going to be talking about over the next hour or so will be dependent on the ground. Andy, you said to us off air a second ago that you have a friend who lives down the back straight at Cheltenham, so you're probably better placed than any of us with our tens of weather apps on our phones checking the whole time what's going on. So as far as you're aware, what's the weather been doing, what's it likely to do, and what's the ground going to be like come Tuesday?
Yeah, my buddy, I get in touch with him once a year. It's my annual. Yeah, that's it. My annual little messages to Nigel, and he always keeps me informed about a week away every single morning, whether they've had any rain, where there's dogs walking on the track and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, he's informed me that they missed most of the rain yesterday. Very dry, blustery. They've had the odd shower, but it's squally more than anything of any great quantities. Unlike here in sort of North Wales, where it's been bouncing off the roof all night, blowing a hoolie. Getting further east as well, just as a matter of course. Sandown also has missed quite a bit of it as well. So sort of the further sort of south and east you are, the more chance you are of missing it. And looking at the forecast for next Tuesday, sort of beyond to sort of Friday, I think you might get the odd spit and spot. I think you're looking at sort of 10 to 15% chance of rain over the weekend. So we're not going to get anything in any great quantities. And I think it's probably going to be good to soft. I'm sure Barry will update us on that, how punters are going, what route they're going down. But I can't believe there's going to be any genuine sort of soft ground. It'll be good to soft and even good in places if this wind carries on.
Barry, bring you in there, because we're going to talk about, we're going to come to you for the exchange angle fairly often during this podcast and video. Has there been any action yet in the going market, or is that yet to open up?
No, not really at the moment. It's just looking through it there. I know we did quote something earlier on in the week. It was around the twos on chance that it would be start on good to soft. So that's surely obviously favoured all the time with the watering policy in Cheltenham. And I don't see that changing in the next 6 days or so.
Great stuff. Well, I think that's a fair few trainers out there who'll be hoping for good soft ground, better than the bog we've had in the last few years anyway. We're going to get to the Supreme now. Before we do so, just going to point everybody in the direction of the oddschecker app. You can get Andy's tips every morning straight to the app on oddschecker, the very best prices as well, bookie offers, place terms, and everything else. And during this podcast, when I talk about prices, I'll be quoting the standout prices from the oddschecker grids. And on the grids as well, you can see if firms are non-runner, no bet, which is incredibly important because you don't necessarily want to be backing top price if you don't know that you're going to get your money back if they don't run. And probably in no race at the moment is that more important than the Supreme. We are recording this at about 10:30 on the Thursday, the 11th. So yesterday we had a better idea of who will be running as the races cut up a little bit. And Appreciate It is the 7-5 favourite as it stands for the Supreme. Metier 5-1, Ballyadam 13-2. That's best price with Betfair Sportsbook. Soaring Glory 7-1. Bob Ollinger 10-1, but with a firm who aren't NRNB, so shorter if you want to get your money back, which is especially crucial there. Blue Lord 12-1, 25-1 bar. Barry, I'll come to you first here because before we get into the ins and outs of it, and I know that Tony, you wrote in your Betfair column about Bob Ollinger. Are we getting often the exchange market can give us some glimpses as to who will be running where? Can we glean anything from what's going on the exchanges with the Supreme?
Bob Bollinger on the exchange market is a 20-1 chance, so that would indicate he's for elsewhere. Obviously, Appreciate It very strong, 13-8 on the Betfair exchange, £250,000 matched in the anti-post market on that. A third of it on Appreciate has been matched at a high of around 180 for £6. So at the moment, he's the 13-8 mark. Like I said, 6.2 Metier, Ballyadam 8.2, Soaring Glory. He's on the big slide. He's out to 11.5 off comments yesterday from his owners that they might give it a swerve and head to Aintree, where owners are allowed to 10. He's been mashed at a low around 8.6 and 9.2 for 149 quid. He's out to 11.5 now. So the market reacting there. Obviously, Appreciate It, beaten favourite in the bumper last year, went off 15-8, traded at 2s on. Everyone knows, got beat by his stable companion, Fernie Hollow. The one I like in it is Ballyadam. Was over 15 lengths behind Appreciate It in Leopardstown at Christmas when all Gordon Elliott's horses were sick. He scoped dirty. He was on the easy list for a couple of weeks, ran back down at the Dublin Racing Festival and got that down to a little over 3 lengths behind Appreciate It. I think he'll come on again for that run. I think he's been kind of a little bit dismissed by the market. He's nearly 4 times the price of Appreciate It. He's in there at around a 7-1 chance on the Betfair exchange. He's a win and place bet for me, and I think he can't be out of the first 3. There's a doubt about Metier. A doubt about Appreciate It getting to the front as well. I think there's pace in the races that could take him on early doors. So for me, Ballyadam's a cracking kick-off to the meeting, winning each way.
Ballyadam for Barry there. Tony, I read your Betfair column, as you could probably tell, before recording this. And, what Barry alludes to there was Soaring Glory, maybe not ideal, but I'll let you take it away and tell us kind of what you put in the column.
Well, I'm very disappointed that, he's the owner there 50-50. But what really troubles me about it is it seems like they've been lukewarm on the race ever since the winning the Betfair Hurdle. So whether or not, that's a worry as regards his fitness and how fully tuned up he is here, then I'm not so sure. But obviously, I think they should run it. I think he's got a great chance. We all know that Betfair Hurdle winners have got a good record going on to the Supreme, albeit maybe not a winning one. Even John Joe O'Neill, get me out of here in 2010. They only got beat ahead by Menorah. And I think Soaring Glory's got similarly incredibly strong each way claims. He's up to a mark of 143 now. I think that Newbury win in a good time is very, very strong form. I love the handicap angle coming back into novice company. The decent ground that everyone seems to be expecting. It'll be good to soft. It won't be any quicker on the first day, even if they have to intervene in nature. So I think everything's set up for a rapidly improving horse to do that. The beauty of the non-runner money back angle, especially with the Betfair Sportsbook. I'm not just saying that because Barry's on the call, because the Betfair Sportsbook are actually offering 4 places here as well. So you've got 8-1 Soaring Glory, has been pushed out from 7s, maybe mirroring the exchange drift. You've got the 4 places, you've got the anticipated decent ground, and you get your money back if the owner makes the wrong decision and decides to maybe wait for entry and hope to go there and run the horse. But hopefully common sense will prevail there. Appreciate it. Look, he's the right favourite. Whether or not 2 miles on decent ground will be a bit too sharp for him. That said, well, Andy will tell us about his speed figures, but apparently, when he won his bumper, that was on decent yielding ground, and that was apparently in a very quick time. So maybe the concerns about him being this opportunity being a bit too sharp for him, maybe unfounded. But I'll be against Metier. Got nothing against the horse. Obviously rated 90 on the flat, 3 from 3 over hurdles. But you can pick massive holes in that Tolworth form. The third's come out and got stuffed in a Taunton Novice Hurdle. The second was beating a fairway off a mark of 136 in the Betfair Hurdle, albeit Metier won that by 12 lengths, in impressive fashion. So there is a doubt. I think there is a genuine doubt about the ground for him if it's not soft and tested for Metier. So yeah, everything leads me to Soaring Glory. I think, like Andy, I've been backing Irascible for a while. I backed him all in 25 to 1, and I've also backed him 16 to 1 non-run and no bet. He's obviously a much bigger price now. He's 40 on the exchange. It sounds like they're going to go here instead of the County Hurdle, and I can see him running a big race. Very lightly raced, only a 1 start in points. Very impressive at Clonmel, beating a dual subsequent winner. I think he was ridden too far off the pace behind Appreciate It when beaten 9 lengths in his first start at Grade 1 Company. I think they rode him too aggressively next time when beating the same distance behind the same horse. So I think if there is an improver out those Grade 1, that Grade 1 form line with Appreciate It, it's Irascible. So I play Soaring Glory each way. I'm tempted to go in again 8 non-run and no bet 4 places now. Get your money back, like I said, if he doesn't run. And I've been backing Irascible for a while on the exchange, win only all in, and 25s all in, and 16s non-run and no bet. So those are my 2 against the field.
20 to 1 non-run no bet now as well with Betfair Sportsbook, if you did want to go that way. And Tony, maybe you should take a play out of the Andy Holding playbook and give the owners of Soaring Glory a call and tell them they're being foolish if they don't head to the Supreme.
I was actually trying to find out who anybody knew the owner yesterday. But, yeah. That might be counterproductive if I got on a roll with it.
Andy, I'll come to you last year, and you've got an incredible record in the novice hurdles at Cheltenham over the last few years, and I'm sure people listening and watching will be interested to know what you make of this. You made no secret of your admiration for Appreciate It over the last year or so, and I remember a few months ago we did a podcast together where you said that Metier's on pure speed figures and time figures alone, Metier was the closest that could come to Appreciate It. At the current prices, how are you eyeing up this market now?
Yeah, I mean, a lot depends on how many places I suppose we get with some of the bookmakers come Monday evening when they want to get your business. I think William Hill, I think it was either last year or the year before, when there was only 14 runners, went 7 places, which seemed a crazy thing. But obviously, they're the only ones who don't do non-run and no bet, and they wanted to get money in the hod for the week. You can understand that. So it really is ostensibly an each-way betting paradise. Regardless of whether you fancy Appreciate It or not, you've just got to have a bet in this race because mathematically it just has to be that way. So I probably will be looking for an each-way bet in the race, or maybe 2. But I'm probably going to contradict myself because I do think Appreciate It will win. it's probably one of those daft bets I'll just have just because the maths just tell me I've got to do that. But I think he's a different gear to this lot. I really do. I wouldn't say I've heard so much nonsense about this horse, but nobody seems to want to give him any love, and yet he's run the fastest time I've got this season. He's beat the best horses this season in that race at Leopardstown over the Christmas period, and he absolutely battered genuine good, graded horses such as Irascible, as Tony's mentioned, Ballyadam. The Devil's Coachman was beaten 20 lengths, and he's bolted up since. They went a good on his pace that day. He doesn't have to lead. Everyone's got in their head that he's a grinder. He needs this, he needs that. He'll be just happy just taking the lead. I think for pleasure golf in front, he's a real trailblazer. The day when he won at Cheltenham, he skimmed away by about 20 lengths. Nothing will go with him in the early stages. And Paul Tannen are just sitting behind him. He'll take a lead down to the second last. And then from that point onwards, we know this fella really does kick in the gears. The day when he beat Irascible and Ballyadam that day, he ran the last circuit 8 seconds quicker than French Seal and 6 seconds quicker than the handicap won by Master McShay. So, like I say, I've heard a lot of nonsense, but this horse has inherited a hell of a lot of speed in the last 12 months. I thought he was going to be a Ballymore horse. I backed him at 12-1 to win the Ballymore last season when I put him up on my oddschecker column as a horse to follow. I've been amazed how much speed he showed over 2 miles. And last time everyone said he wasn't impressive, but he got hassled for the lead. Tony was right with Irascible. They tried to do something different in Irascible. He had 2 horses alongside him all the way through, forcing him to go faster than he wanted. Any other horse, but a horse like Appreciate It, would have definitely caved in. But he didn't. He quickened again. He found more. And Ballyadamo had the lovely run through. He had the perfect trail through the race. Basically had another go at him and he couldn't get by him. So I just think, look, he's beat the best horses. He's trained by Willie Mullins as well. I mean, look, you know, he knows he needs no second introduction in a race like that. He's won it as many times as me and you have had hot dinners. So I think Appreciate he'll win it, and I think he'll win it easily. But then, but Andy, what's stopping you then from, you know, the 13-8? You know, you look at your column, you put up horses at that price fairly consistently. Yeah, I mean, like I say, I'm not saying I'm not going to put him up, but at this moment in time, 11-8, unless he drifts out to 7-4, I'm not in the business to be sticking 11-8 shots up off the first bat in the very first race at Cheltenham.
Andy, what price in a 100% book? What price do you think he should be? Put aside the bets you're going to have. If you were a layer on Betfair now, what would be your mid-range price from the back and lay?
Well, I wouldn't be lining for a start, but I think he should be a 5-4 shot, because I think this is a really, really weak Supreme. I can't believe that Soaring Glory is not going to run. I think he should run, because I think he's bang up there, particularly on the ground. I mean, you never get a better chance in a beyond Appreciate. I think quite a weak Supreme. I actually give 50 Ball a chance as well. I don't know what connections of him are going to do, but if you go back on what Tanubi run, he was a good 10-15 lengths behind Soaring Glory halfway down the back straight, and yet he's managed to pull the deficit back to 3 lengths. So if you fancy Soaring Glory, you've got to have a look at 50 Ball. And if the ground dries out for the rest of the week, they can rule out the county hurdle. I think he needs about 30 odd to come out the county hurdle to even get in that. I think he's a player if bookmakers go 6-7 places further down the line. But I just don't.
Yeah, so I think this, you mentioned a good point about the county, because quite a few of these could go to the county, and this race could really cut up, couldn't it?
Well, like I say, but you haven't really got a great deal running for if you want to be laying Appreciate. It's all right saying, oh, we'll standing because of this and that, but I think he'll beat Ballyadam again. He beat Blue Lord fair and square. I think he might improve from his last run, arguably. But look, it's boring, but I think he'll win. And if I was looking for something beyond him, or without the favourite, I think Irascible is the one I'd go with, because he didn't know what he was doing the first time when he kicked everything out the ground, raced wide and finished second in the best race I've got on the figures. And then, like I say, he was ridden too aggressively last time out. I think they've learned a lesson, and they'll probably give him a chance and drop him in. 50 Ball is the other one if he runs, so I'd be looking to probably bet those two out that far, but I do think Willie Mullins will win this again with Appreciate It.
So seemingly pretty strong word there for Appreciate It from Andy. We're going to have to move on. I mean, Tuesday, this podcast every year, Tuesday seems to take about twice as long as every other day because the quality of the races, and it's no different here with the Arkle second up, where we've got Shishkin at 10-11, Anugamine at 9-4, 13-2 All Mankind, 14-1 Captain Guinness, 20-1 Bar. A fascinating Arkle, a match at the top end. Barry, looking pretty similar, pretty tight to the prices there on the exchange as well.
Yeah, just a little over even. Shishkin has been back at a low 1.7, but obviously with the emergence of Energamine in Ireland as a viable alternative to the favourite, punters have latched onto Energamine in recent weeks. He's into 11-4 now, 3.75, 8-1 All Mankind, 14 Captain Guinness, and it's 22 Franco Deporte. I two at the head of the market are going to be hard beat, but for whatever reason, if they don't perform. The horse I like in it is Captain Guinness, quite a luckless horse, got brought down last year in the Supreme when travelling really well. Ran against Energamine and Nace earlier on this year in a novice chase, finished 8.5 lengths off him. Then they reopposed in Leopardstown at the Dublin Racing Festival, and he was travelling just as well as Energamine when he came down at the second last, very novice mistake, just couldn't get a leg out. I know it's not ideal preparation, back and one in a novice chase off the back of a fall, but I think this horse is a real good engine, and he's never really had the opportunity to show it either. Definitely a place bet for me, and I'll chance him in the win as well. So yeah, but at the head of the market, Siskin taking up 62% of the 259,000 that has been bet in the anti-post market on the exchange, and the Energumene well in there at 11-4 as well.
Andy, do you agree with the prices at the top end with those two?
No, I think Shiskin's painfully short. Look, he's run 3 very fast times. That's one thing I will say straight off the bat. He comes out really well on figures. Certainly, he's been up to high-class championship level. He's run to the kind of numbers that would win any Arkle in any normal year, but I don't think this is any normal year. You know, you've got Energumene as well, who's massively improved. He's a solid jumper. He's also recorded some very good times as well. I think he'll run to an even faster level at Cheltenham in a championship, a proper, Cheltenham championship environment. And this is going to be run at a whirlwind pace. We know what the tactics are going to be like with Dan and Harry Skelton, probably haps to plan with All Mankind. He only knows one way of running, to try and put everything under pressure with his fast, slick jumping from the front. So one mistake, I wouldn't say one mistake and you're out here, but it's certainly going to be very difficult to recover in a year like this. If you make 1 or even 2 errors on the way around here, you're almost going to have to be foot perfect. So like I say, taking even money, or 4 to 5 it is at the moment, Shiskin, in an above average renewal of the Arkle is not really that appealing from my perspective. I can certainly see Barry's point of view with Captain Guinness. I've got a lot of time for him. He was unlucky in last year's Supreme, there's no doubt about it. And Shiskin was as well. You go back and watch that run, it's unbelievable that Shiskin managed to win. He almost got knocked sideways at the second last and still managed to beat Abracadabra. But similar to the way Barry's looking at it from an each way perspective, I also see another one in this race as being a little bit of an underdog, and that's Franco de Port. He won his Grade 1 when he beat Darvastar at Leopardstown, and he went into battle against Energumene last time out, very much as a second string. But again, if you go back and watch his run, he caught the top of the third, the last one down the far side, the one downhill, skidded on landing, and from being a close-up third and travelling nicely and in a nice rhythm, he ended up being last. It was, like I say, just a little bit of a novice error. He got in just a little bit too tight. Momentum almost got him on the floor, but he recovered and he ran on strongly to finish second. So on the theory that I think if he would have not made that mistake, I think he would have been very, very close to where Energumene would finish. He probably would have been beaten 2 or 3 lengths. So wherever Energumene finishes it here, for me, Franco de Port has got to be somewhere in and around. And like I say, you never know what goes on, how the dynamics of the race will pan out. This is going to be a totally different race to the race that was won at Leopardstown.
Any concerns that the Franco de Port came over last year for the Coral Cup and put in a kind of...
Yeah, I do. That's looking at the back of my mind. He did run badly in the Coral Cup when he was well fancied, but he was very, very keen that day over a trip which obviously was, 2 mile 5, and that they tried something different. But he's very much a 2 miler, and given that he's going to be ridden, I think, with a view to come through at the end like he did 2 runs ago, he's the kind of horse you want to have on your side to be picking up the pieces. So he's 20-1 at the moment. I think I'll be looking to back him at 20-1 if they do go 20-1 the day, all in, or maybe something in and around the 10 or 12-1 mark each way without the favourite, because then you've got sort of 4 places on your side. So, yeah, that's my strategy anyway. I'm looking to get with Willie Mullins' second string each way, Franco de Port.
Tony, how are you seeing it?
I would have Shiskin and Energumene much closer in the market than they are. Barry said Shiskin's, even money on the exchange basically. Energumene's 11-4, and I think that price differential is just too big for me. The problem you've got if you're backing Captain Guinness each way or Franco de Port each way is the top 3 in the market just bring a very high level of form and speed, to the race. Ridiculously high level. The 3 of those. Shiskin, I can take him and leave him at even money. Energumene, I back. The prices about Energumene each way, non-runner, no bet for a while have just been banned wrong. So I've sided with him at odds ranging between 5s and 10s. So hopefully he gets there and doesn't. Connections aren't tempted to switch him to the 2 mile 4 because of the ground maybe quicker than they were expecting. All Mankind, we know exactly the setup was going to be there. If he takes the second last with him as he did at Warwick last time, then I think he'll be on the deck. But He's clearly a very exciting race and makes the race very easy to read from a pace perspective. I won't have a bet at the current prices. We'll just see. This is enough, like the Supreme. I wouldn't be surprised if this is really cut up, and hopefully we'll get 8 runners. But it wouldn't surprise me at all if we were only betting one, two places on the day, unfortunately. But no, I think the market is. I would quibble with it, but not to the degree where I'll be back in Energumene at 11-4 on the exchange win only.
Well, you're in a decent position on Energumene at 10s and 5s. Some of us, Tony, are on Energumene at 20s in the 3 mile race. So there we go.
All right.
That was
you'll be hoping for a proper switch here, wouldn't you?
Back in November. So that was. It's going to really hurt, I think, if I see Energumene go and bolt up on Tuesday. But either way, should be an incredible match to have at the top end of a decent Arkle, and some interesting types in behind, as shown by Andy and Barry, both fancying Captain Guinness and Franco de Port. On then to the Ultima, the third race of the day, and Happy Go Lucky heads the market at 11-2, just ahead of Lieutenant Rocco at 6-1. A few firms have them as joint favourites. Ascaria 10, I Right, and one for the team, all 10-1. Remastered 14-1. Cocoa Beach and Far Class 16-1. Again, you're probably wanting to take non-run no bet here for a fair few of these if you do have a play. I spoke to Kim Bailey earlier in the week, and he said that Happy Go Lucky was his best chance as far as he was concerned. Obviously, he's got Imperial Aura running as well and First Flow. Would you agree with that, Andy? Do you think Happy Go Lucky a rightful favourite?
Absolutely, yeah. The stats for this race in the last few years have really given you a bit of a good steer towards what you will need to be looking at here. First of all, you need to be going for a novice, lightly raced chaser, so he fits that bill. You need to have a run at Cheltenham as well in the calendar year or in that season, which he has done. Of course, he won there 95 days ago. And you also, preferably, have got Cheltenham Festival form, and he's got that as well. He finished 4-2 indefatigable in the boys' race last year. And he was a bit unlucky as well. The horse that fell at the last of Gordon Elliott fell right in front of him. I think he would have probably finished second had he not stepped into that horse. So he's got a lot of it going for him. And of course, he's trained by Kim Bailey. He always seems to save one nowadays, isn't he, for the Festival Imperial Aura, of course, for him last year in the Novices Handicap. And obviously, this has been the target. They won here with him early on this season. They put him away. He jumps well, and he's ridden by David Battle. I think he's probably pound for pound riding as good as any jockey at the moment in the weighing room. He just sees strides where other jockeys don't when they play safe. He's really bold, and I think this horse really responds for a bold ride. The downside is he's 5-1, 11-2 favourite. I'm not telling you something that the market hasn't already unearthed. And lo and behold, his main danger also fits that criteria as well. Lieutenant Rocco clocked a very, very fast time when he won at Foss last time. I was really taken aback by that number, I must admit. Very much championship level time figure. He ran much better than the 2 mile handicap chaser on the day, which is always a good sign. If you get 3 mile handicap chasers running faster than the 2 milers on the same card and they run quicker on the last circuit, you know that they've got that 2 mile speed all the way through to last at championship level. He was a bit disappointed when trained by Colin Tizard last year in the 3 mile, the Albert Bartlett, but he's had Cheltenham Festival experience anyway, and he's had a run at Cheltenham as well this season when he finished third behind that good horse Chantry House early on the year. So he's had a spin around the track, and he also has got a good profile as well. So look, it's not the most original kind of sort of tipping sort of perspective for me, picking the first 2 out in the market, but they fit absolutely every criteria you're looking for. And of the 2, I think Happy Go Lucky is definitely the one.
Market can't really split them in terms of the fixed odds operators, Barry, but how's the exchange looking?
It's much the same. 6.6 Happy Go Lucky, Lieutenant Rocco 6.8. If anything, Lieutenant Rocco, momentum just with him in the last 48 hours or so, he's come into 6.8. I Right's 11, 13.5, Ascaria 10, 11, 1 for the team. That's on the exchange. Obviously on the sports book, it's 5 places to each way punters and non-runner money back. Obviously it's 9-2. Happy Go Lucky 5, Lieutenant Rocco, and 10 bar. It's not a race I have a strong opinion in. And if I have to have a bet in it, it'll be because Ballyadam and Captain Guinness didn't place in the first 2 races. So that'll be a bad sign if I'm having a bet in the Ultimate.
Or it'll be because your coffers are boosted, Barry, and you're ready to go in for another one. Tony, save us here. We've had a no bet from Barry. We've had the top 2 in the market from Andy. Can you give us anything at a bigger price?
No. I was when I did this earlier a couple of days ago. I thought I might take a wild swing at Puerto Rico, but he didn't appear in the deck. So not for the first time this season. I'm with Anne. Look, the market tells you, and the market's got it right. The front two of the market are just very solid, very attractive, fulfill every criteria you're looking for, as Andy said. If you're going to play them, maybe wait until the day, and you might get the safety net of extra places. The race again. Some of these horses could go to the National Hunt Chase. We'll come on to that in a moment, but the exchange, Barry might put some meat on the bones here. But when I was looking at the exchange markets this morning, I was quite surprised to see Royal Pagaille drifting in the National Hunt Chase market and coming in the Gold Cup market. It's been a fair shift. It's not been a sizable one. Royal Pagaille was trading around about the 2s mark, but he's now edging out to 5-2, and the Gold Cup price has come in. So if he doesn't go to the National Hunt Chase, some of these could well go to the 3 Mile 6, the likes of Remastered, Iscaria 10, etc. So it could well be that the front two of the market could even shorten up even further if because the likes of Remastered and Iscaria 10 are very attractive profiles as well. So with races like this where I agree with the market, I wait until the final decks. I'll go through if there's any pace angles. Obviously, we'll know on Sunday when we start looking at the cards in earnest. We'll know what the likely grounding as well. But at the moment, even though the front two of the market do seem pretty short enough for such a competitive race, there's scope for them even shortening that further. But I'll probably hold fire and wait for extra places come Sunday once we know the final fields. But yeah, very boring. I've got nothing left field at the moment, that's for sure.
Better boring than searching for something that isn't there.
Oh God, yeah. If you're not willing, I always say, if you're not willing to part with your own money, you shouldn't be putting up tips and bets and selections.
Yeah, absolutely. Just on the exchange, no bids for Farclas and Cocoa Beach, just £2 trying to back Iscaria 10. So maybe some indications there that this might not be the priority at the moment. No guarantees though either way. On to a race where it's difficult not to have an opinion, and a absolutely brilliant looking champion hurdle coming up with Honeysuckle, the 9-4 favourite, Epatante 7-2, Goshen 4-1, Abracadabra's 10-1, Sharjah 16-1, Silver Streak 16-1. I mean, this is, you talk at the top three of the market, but when you've got quality operators in behind like Abracadabra's and Sharjah, it really does make for an exciting prospect on Tuesday afternoon. Barry, I'll come to you for the exchange angle first up.
Yeah, Honeysuckle very strong since they confirmed this was the race for her after the Irish Champion Hurdle. She's 3.55 now, 5-2. Very strong at that. 5.2 Epatante. She's on the slide a bit. 5 Goshen. He's the one that's been the big mover since his win last time out. Abracadabra's 11.5 and it's 19 bar. She's a perfect 10. Honeysuckle. She's done it in grade 1, 6 grade 1s between 2 miles, 2.5 miles. She seems to have it all. She really does. And until she's beaten, I can't see past her. I can't see past the 2 mares, really. I don't think anything can give them £7 in the race. I can't have Goshen. Abracadabras, I think there's a hole in him, and it's 14 bar. It's hard to make a case for anything outside of that. Maybe at a price song for someone who should come on significantly for that run last day if they decide to go here. But yeah, I think it's very difficult to get the mares beat here, and I'm siding with Honeysuckle. I think JP's won 4 out of the last 5 champion hurdles, hasn't he? And out of the last 7, himself and Rich Ritchie have won all 7 out of the last 7 between the two of them. I suppose Honeysuckle for me, I think she's going to join the great mares, the likes of Flaky Dove, who I led in 1994 with Mark Dwyer in the plate, and Annie Power and Epatante. I think she's up there with the best of them, and I think you're going to see that on the opening day of the festival.
I asked Fergal O'Brien a couple of weeks ago if he could steal any horse and stick them into his yard, who would he take? And he said Honeysuckle. He's absolutely smitten with her, and it's difficult not to be. The slide on Epatante on the exchange is fairly interesting, given how well the market has predicted her 2 runs over the last couple of years. One very, very bad, one very, very good. Tony, looking at this, where do you see the value at the moment?
Again, I'm struggling. I was a non-believer, Honeysuckle, going into the Dublin Racing Festival. Came out as a firm believer, but again, you're being asked to take 5-2 now, which I think is a fair assessment. Epatant's the one that if you're willing to forgive that Kempton defeat, you're getting 4 times the price now. I think she has been matched as low as 5-4 on the exchange after that reappearance win, and now you're getting 4-1 plus. So if you are willing to to forgive her there, and they said she had a back problem, etc. Nikki Henson originally threw out all kinds of ideas about why she underperformed there, but they said it was a back problem. For me, my most significant position on the race, immediately after Goshen won last time, I laid him at 6.2 on the exchange. I thought that was an overreaction. It turns out I was wrong, and I've been averaging it out now. I've been laying Goshen at 5.2 and 5.1 in the last 24 hours. I'm against him. Again, Andy will be able to tell us a bit more about the time there, but I've read mixed messages about the merit of that performance. But to me, it just looked as very little evidence that he was back to that Triumph Hurdle defeat best. So I've laid him win. I'll be laying in place on the day. Maybe he won't get his favourite deep ground, but obviously we should say there's loads of pace in the race as well. I mean, if the likes of Not So Sleepy, Jason the Militant, etc. turn up, I'm looking at the exchange now, and the one that appeals to me most is probably Sharjah at 19. And if the race stacks up and you get an extra place on the day, maybe Sharjah 14th and 16th each way, maybe 4 places, because we know he's disappointed in that race that he ran in last time twice in a row now. But we also know he's got the form in the book to put it to most of these. He was beaten by Epatant last time, but I think if they get a more strongly run race, that will play to his strengths this year. And unbelievably, he actually traded at odds on. He actually traded at odds on last year when Epatant streaked him, because he did tank through the race, but obviously Epatant found a lot after the last. So if you forgive, again, this is a forgiveness kind of race, isn't it? If you're willing to forgive, you are getting you're getting some inflated prices. Most obviously Epatant, but Sharjah as well, probably for me a more my kind of price. Apparently the vibes are quite strong about James de Burle. Now, having looked at his French form, I'm struggling to see it, but he's a 20-1 chance, non-winner money back. Like I said, I can only pass on that there's been some positive vibes, but I can't see it myself. But yeah, for me, I'll win and lose on the race depending on what Goshen does, and I'll chuck a few quid at Sharjah. Hopefully with an extra place on the day, hopefully around 16-1.
Andy, let's talk about Goshen, because it's hard to think. I mean, there are plenty of fairy tale stories that could happen next week. We've got Paisley Park in the Stayers looking to regain his crown. We've got Altior, of course, but I think Goshen would surely be one of the most popular winners after what happened last year at the last. How does that run that we saw, the return to form of Goshen that's seen this absolute price collapse in the Champion Hurdle, how does it compare to what we saw last year?
Yeah, he run a big number at Wincanton. Not as good as the likes of Honeysuckle, Epatant, and Sharjah at their very best. But the fact that he was eased down, he could have gone a good deal quicker than that. So I've sort of allowed a little bit of wiggle room with that time figure. It certainly puts him in the mix. I think he probably sits about where he rightly is, around about third favourite. I think that's about right. But I do think he is slightly more ground dependent than one or two others. You could argue. I think he's a fascinating runner. Like, this is just a fascinating race in general terms. I think this is one of the best champion hurdles we've seen. Just a shame that we can't be there in the flesh to witness it. There is going to be a searching pace. I've no doubts about that. Aspire knows only one way of running. Petit Mouchoir often makes the running. Jason the Militant, I think he's at his best when he's handy or he forces the pace. I don't think he's a million, by the way, Jason the Militant. I think he's a hugely improved horse. So it should be set up for something that does stay really well at the trip, i.e. a Honeysuckle, who we know gets 2.5 miles well. She's got the tactical speed for 2. And finally, she clocked a number worthy of her career record. Up until when she won last time, I've never got her running, funny enough, even though all those grade ones, her running a proper bona fide wow time figure. And she finally did it last night when she had the perfect setup. She came through and won very, very easily from Abracadabra. So, like Tony, I am now a believer that she is a champion hurdle contender. Odds around about 2-1, 9-4, probably a little bit short for my liking. I've already put up Abracadabra. I know Barry's not totally convinced, and I can see why, if you are a non-believer in this horse, why you would always look to think he's got a little bit of a glass chin. And I suppose if I'm being honest with myself, I do think I think he is probably a little bit fragile, but at the same time, I can't get away from that fact of how well he travelled in last year's Supreme on ground that he absolutely hated, and he clocked a similar set of sectionals and time figures than Epiton. If you go like split screen, circuit by circuit, all the way around, he would have nearly won the champion hurdle running like that on, like I say, ground that he absolutely hated. He's been wrong this season. He's had all kinds of problems, like a lot of Gordon Elites have. But I think he's going to arrive here having his ground. He's going to get good to soft ground, which he bounces off. He's a spring horse. And I'm still hopeful with a bet that I put up anti-post on him, that he might at least run into the first 3 or 4 for me. And I agree with Tony as well. Sharjah's an unbelievably disrespectful price for a horse of his quality. He always does the same thing every year. People have said that he can't run after Christmas, and all his best form is in and around that Christmas period of time. Then he runs badly, which he always does. He bounces off a very, very fast figure, like he did when he beat Aspire Tower and they went a worldy gallop, and he just can't run to that same level next time out because he's still got that running in his legs. But then when he comes to Cheltenham, like you saw in last year's champion hurdle, he's able to recover and run really well again. I think he'll do the same again. And this is the first season with Sharjah. He's going to come to Cheltenham and he's going to have genuinely good or good to soft ground. The 3 seasons he's been here previously, every single time it's been heavy. And he's not that kind of horse. He doesn't want to be lugging himself through, heavy ground. He's a genuinely fast horse. Nothing can live with this horse on my time figures when he's had good ground and he's quickened off a fast pace. So I'm definitely going to be back in and putting up Sharjah on Tuesday if we can get 4 places. Which hopefully we should. You never know. Some firms might be greedy and go 5 places, but I think
we'll have 5.
The way this race will set up, it'll be perfect for something like a Sharjah or an Abracadabra to jump on horses, falling in a hole. Obviously, Honeysuckle's going to be one of those as well, but she's 2-1. So, what was it? Did Tony say? Was it 12, 14 to 1 at the moment?
16 to 1. Sharjah best price.
16 top price. It's not 18 to 1 on the exchange at the moment.
That's just a complete mythical price. That is Sharjah.
No, it's there.
I've got a body of work and all the numbers to say that Sharjah is one of the quickest horses in this field under the right conditions, and finally he's going to have his right conditions in this year's champion hurdle.
You know what we're in danger of doing here? We're in danger of believing weather forecasts. A dangerous game. A dangerous game. Get on to Nigel again.
Yeah. Like I say, I'm prepared to sit in my hands and wait for the day. The Abracadabra bet's already in the can. I can't do anything about that, but I'm definitely going to play it again if I know those conditions of what we think they might be come Tuesday.
Right, Barry, get on the phone to the lads at Betfair HQ and demand that Andy Holding wants 5 places in the champion hurdle and 16 to 1 about Sharjah, and we'll go from there.
And money back if it loses.
Yeah, exactly. On to the mares then. We've got 3 more races to rattle through on the Tuesday, and another festival hot pot. Concertista 6-5, the incredibly impressive winner of the mares novices last year. Roxana 3-1, the former winner of this race a few years ago. Dame de Compagnie 13-2, Black Tears 10-1, Indefatigable 16-1, 20-1 bar. Andy, stick with you here. Favourite one to take on, or is there anything we can, looking at that each way angle, what can we back at a bigger price?
No, I think Concertista is the right favourite here, regardless of whether Roxana runs out. I do respect Roxana. She's she's a winner here at Cheltenham, albeit fortuitously. She's done nothing wrong this season. She's a genuine Grade 1 mare, but Concertista, I just think, is in a different league. She comes alive in the spring as well, and what she's done already this season has been a slight bonus in my respect. But slow run, fast run, she's just got an amazing constitution, great turn of foot, loves Cheltenham, and her performance when she won here last year was just something to behold. I thought she was the best winner the whole week. I mean, she just completely laughed at the opposition. So I can't see her get a beat. unfortunately, she's even money. I did put her up, but if you remember, George, when we did that halfway midway look at the season and trying to highlight horses perhaps that might be a little bit of value for Cheltenham, she was around about 5-1 at the time. I said you won't go too far wrong backing her each way if Honeysuckle will go down the Champion Hurdle route. But yeah, 11-10, I'd probably stick her in a double with Appreciate It if you hadn't already got involved, and I'd probably look to do Black Tears each way without the favourite on the day. I think if you can get something in and around the 4-5-1 mark, I can't see her being out the frame. She's similar to Concertista Comes Alive at the festival. She stays really well. She clocked a big number the other day when she won in a small field, to suggest that she's coming to the ball quite nicely. You can rely on her to run a race. So I'd probably, given the Roxana obviously be ridden to try and win it, and I think something's got to give there with the front two in the market. I think Black Tears could just be ridden with a view to picking up some pieces and come through and chase down Concertista. But I think the Irish have got a very strong hand here.
Barry, Andy said there that even money was too short for him for Concertista, but he should be looking at the exchange here, shouldn't he?
Yeah, she's 2.22, so nearly 5-4. I don't know whether that's enough of a nudge for Andy to change his mind. I wouldn't imagine so. 4.5 Roxana, which is 7-2. Down the Company, 8.6, and it's 15 bar. I didn't have a strong opinion in the race. It never is a race for me to really get involved in. I think Roxana's danced every dance this year. She's done nothing wrong for me. She's ran against the best of them, and I think she has a bit of a chance in it, but I won't be having a bet in this race.
Tony, anything for you?
I think this is very similar to the Arkle. I would make the front two in the betting a lot closer together than they are. I mean, a big fan of Concertista. She was probably my best winner of the festival last year, albeit in a pretty sparse winning card there. I backed Roxana, non-one and no bet, for this race and for the stayers. I think she should probably be going for the stayers. I think she's really been suited by the step up to 3 miles, but obviously this is a much more winnable race, even if Concertista could set quite a high bar. They're a very similar horse, but one's nearly 5-4, one's 7-2. So on price grounds alone, I'll be with Roxana. I'm with Andy. Black Tears. Black Tears was actually available at 14s and 16s yesterday after the decks came out. That soon disappeared. I don't get the price differential there either between her and Dame de Company. Dame de Company is coming off the back of an aborted chase campaign. Black Tears is coming here off the back of a good win. And if you look at their form at the festival last year, Black Tears actually came out the better horse at the weights. So if you are line with Andy again, if you are looking outside of the top two, then Black Tears could well be the one. I don't know how many horses are going to rock up here once again. So hopefully we'll get an 8, 9, 10 runner field, which allows those kind of each way plays on the day. But even though I'm a big fan, I think Roxana 7-2 appeals more than Concertista than 5-4 at the exchange prices.
Roxana 3-1, Black Tears 10-1 as it stands at the moment. Interesting. When I spoke to Fergal O'Brien a couple of weeks ago, he was talking about Dulcita, who finished second behind Concertista in that Mares Novice, albeit a 12 length or whatever it was second, and he is pretty sweet on her class and says that ever since she arrived at his yard from Willie Mullins's, it's been clear to see that festival form. So maybe at a big price there, 40-1, you're probably playing for a place, really, aren't you? But not too bad if she can run into the top, into the first 3. On then to the Boodles, the penultimate race of the day, and Who Gree is the 5-1 favourite for Paul Nicholls. St Sam 11-2, Bustleton 8-1, Coltorn 9-1, River de Tel 11-1. 12-1 bar, and we spoke to Paul Nicholls, Betfair ambassador Paul Nicholls. I caught up with him earlier today, and we discussed Who Gree's chances ahead of the Boodles Juvenile Hurdle. And then Who Gree has been one of the gambles of the last couple of weeks in the Cheltenham Festival so far for the Boodles, in from about 16-1 to favouritism now. Only one run for you so far, but suggesting that the mark of 128 is a workable one.
I think it is, yeah. He ran very well at Chepstow in very, very deep ground. He hadn't been with us that long. I don't usually run them that quick when they come from France, but that was a tidy run. He had a little break after that and did a really sparkling gallop at Wincanton last week. And the drying ground will suit him, I'd say. I don't think he'd want it too soft. 128, I think, on Grade 1 form looks a nice mark. he worked very nicely last week, and I just suggested to the owners that he might run well. They've obviously had a little bet on him, but I don't think there's been a gamble on him. Or not that if it is, I don't know who. And he was 16 to 1. I think the owners have had a few quid on, and he gets shortened up. And then if you look at his profile and look at it, you actually think, well, yeah, he has got a big chance. So hopefully he'll run very well.
Yeah, definitely the kind of thing at this time of year as well, where people start seeing the prices going and jump on board rather than anything bigger than that. And we released that full interview with Betfair ambassador Paul Nicholls on our YouTube channel and podcast platforms. We also spoke about Politolog, Frodon, Brave Man's Game, Next Destination, among others as well. So do hear his thoughts on what the festival will be like without fans as well. So subscribe to our YouTube channel where you'll find my chat with Paul there. And interesting to note, Andy, we saw Who Agree last week available about 16 to 1. Now about 5 to 1. Paul was pretty keen to say that he wasn't aware of any gamble, but did allude to a sparkling piece of work at Wincanton. So interesting to note there.
Yeah, I mean, Paul Nicholls is a past master in this race, isn't he? It's a race I think he quite likes. He's won it with Calando and another French-bred Diago de Charmel. And it's that kind of horse that he tends to target at this race. And I think he did it with the Diago de Charmel. I'm not sure whether actually ran in this country. I think he just came from France and popped up and won.
I think he did, yeah.
Quite comfortably. So he's just given the one spin. Obviously, he was doing his best to win the Grade 1 race at Chepstow, but he just didn't handle the conditions that day. And obviously, the two horses that went away from him, Dagio and Nasalam, were two very set, ready horses, weren't they, on that kind of ground? They looked after him, and he came home in his own time to finish a well-beaten third. I've also heard that he's strengthened up quite nicely in the interim period. He's had nearly the thick end of 3 months off to recover from that. He's got in here off a very, very handy mark. What looks it anyway, 128. Again, it looks he looks the part, doesn't he? In many respects, apart from the price. If you're just going down pure numbers like I am, I mean, obviously Hugh Gurry hasn't run a time figure yet. I don't know what his autoy times are like. but if you're just basing on what horses have done at championship level already, there's a couple of standout horses here that they've only got to run to the same level to be involved, and that's Saint Sam and Bustleton. The race that Calixios won on the Dublin Racing Festival day, that was the second best juvenile time figure I've got this season. Zanaher, as I said earlier on doing a podcast with you, George, Zanaher was just a worldie like from day one when he won at the Fair. He has nothing to get anywhere near that time figure. We're talking like our Connor standard. He was that good. But along came Calixios, and all of a sudden he threw his cap in the ring with a sensational time figure. Incidentally, he ran a better number than Appreciated did that day. I've done the split screen circuit dissection of those two, and Calixios would have beaten Appreciated by 10 lengths. So even getting beat 3-4 lengths, 5-6 lengths respectively, Saint Sam and Bustleton both ran to a similar level of the Grade 1 older horses that day. And I can't believe that those two have come out of that race 139, 135. I think they're completely and utterly unscathed. I thought they would have been up the 145 route and completely roll out of this race. Obviously, Joseph O'Brien's won this race 2 years ago with Band of Outlaws. I can imagine he's absolutely cock-a-hoot with getting 135 with Bustleton. And I do like him. He's run against the best. He's run against Calixios. He's run against Zanaher. Yeah, he's the one for me at 8 to 1. I must admit, I think at pure value and what they've done on the figures, and with the potential to improve even more, Joseph O'Brien knows what he's doing with those 4-year-old juveniles when he brings them over here. So Bustleton for me stand out at 8 to 1 at the moment.
Bustleton at 8 to 1. Tony, you and Andy have agreed on most things so far on the Tuesday. Do you see this race in the same way?
I think like this Boodles, you can make a case for actually lows. I mean, I can the Hoogery gamble, like I said, I think he was 16 to 1 about 4 weeks ago. I know the owners, and they think the horse ran too soon at Chepstow after joining Paul, but he travelled really well throughout that race. I think he traded 2 to 1 in running as well before beating 20 odd lengths. And I mean, you can really see that. Apparently, he shot in that mass racecourse gallop that Paul did at Wincanton last week, and I think he was originally given a mark of 130 as well, but the handicapper dropped him to 128 as well, so they were absolutely delighted with that. But the price has gone on that. I can see the case for the Irish juveniles. The Saint Sam angle one, I know the owner there as well. They're not totally set on the Boodles yet. They're going to see. I think they're going to look at the Triumph as well, but they're leaning towards the handicap. It must be said. No, the one that I quite liked. If you like Who Gree, have a look at Home Public, who were actually beaten a neck by Who Gree at Ultima back in October. So there's only a neck between them. Home Public's £3 better off. I think they were disappointed with his run when he got beaten first time up in the country. But I think that Market Raisin win last time, it impressed me as well. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Humperbeek. I backed him at 25s. I think he's still some 20s knocking around as well. Ollie Greenhill, obviously relatively small stable, but he's had 3 winners this month. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what Andy get a steer from Andy. I'm led to believe that the Market Raisin time from Humperbeek wasn't half bad as well. So I don't know what Andy's figures would say there, but. Yeah, clear. I can see the case for all the market leaders, but I've branched out a bit further, and Hum Public for Oliver Greenhill is the one I've landed on at the moment.
That'll test you're on the spot speed figures knowledge, Andy.
Yeah, I've got him. I've got Hum Public at Market Raisin did a 57. He ran to a 60. His best time was at Catterick when he got beat. But you're dealing with horses that run up 70 and beyond with the likes of Riviere d'Etel, Saint Sam or Bustleton. My cut-off point for the really good juveniles is a 70 time figure. If you run behind that, I mean, I've been doing these now for about 15, 20 years, so I know the standard you need to have reached to be considered a champion juvenile level. So anything 16 below, you've got a huge amount to find. But a lot of these are going to improve, of course, for the environment of a championship race. It's not saying they can't, but I prefer to go with the ones that have done it, been there, and got that tried and trusted number in the book. So, like I say, Bustleton, Saint Sam, Riviere d'Etel, those big Irish horses involved in those good sort of graded races have got plenty in hand.
Let's say that Ultima figure was 70 plus then.
Might well have been. Yeah, to be fair, he's a nice horse. I like him as well. Like his attitude. Yeah, he's one to consider at a nice price.
Barry, Paul might have said that there wasn't a gamble on Who Gree as far as he was aware. What did the market say on the exchanges?
Yeah, well, he's been really well supported. Obviously, it's a very weak market, this, out of all the exchange markets. This is one of the weakest, only £22,000 matching it. There's one I will flag up in the last 24 hours on the sports book that's come in for really good support. Is Dermot Wells Coulter. Won on his 3rd start over hurls in Naas. Got a mark of 125 in Ireland. He's only got a 2 additional pounds off the English handicapper. He's on a mark of 127. He was 10-1 just this time yesterday. He's into 6-1 now. So Dermot Weld obviously hasn't got the best of records in Cheltenham, but in terms of positives in the market, he's your standout at the moment.
Coulter, and much bigger price at 10.5 for those who want to back him on the exchange win only, rather than taking that 6s. So an angle there to support the Weld horse if you wanted it. Barry, will stick with you because, as Tony mentioned, in the last race of the day, the National Hunt Chase, there's been some interesting movement on the Betfair exchange. On the fixed odds stuff, on the odds checker grids, Royal Pagal is the 13-8 favourite, Galvin 7-2, Next Destination and Ascaria 10, both 9-1. Cocoa Beach and Lord Royal 10-1, 12-1 bar. But Barry, is all looking a bit different on the Betfair exchange.
Yeah, well, it all centres around one horse this race, and that's Royal Pagai. He's 11-8 on the sportsbook, non-runner money back. On the exchange, he's 3.45. So he's a 5-2 chance on the exchange. Haven't been matched at a low of 2.96 for around 117 quid. So, yeah, there could be a bit of a doubt about him now after yesterday. It looking more than likely that he'd be going here according to the market. Galvin 4.4, 8.2 Ascari at 10, and Lord Royal is 10, and it's 13 bar. Like I said, it all depends on the one horse here, how you take this race. And if Royal Pagai goes Gold Cup route, well, then Galvin's going to be a short price favourite.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll wait and see what happens there with Royal Pagai. Surely in the next few days, there'll be more indications on the exchange as to what will happen here. Tony, I mean, it's difficult really to try and look where the value is with that uncertainty. But who are you looking? I mean, who do you fancy? Let's say for this one.
Well, you'd be gutted if you're a Galvin supporter, wouldn't you? If you put it away since October, and you could be running into an 166 rated opposition. So they'd be gutted if they've wasted all season and bumping into one like that. This is like I said, at the moment, you just don't know what's going to happen. I did text someone who's connected to the yard and owners this morning, just notify them of the drift if there's anything to add, and all I got back was "there you go," which is absolutely of no consequence whatsoever. So it could well be that the drift is due to the weather forecast, and but we don't know. There was in the last 24 hours, because of the possible weakness in rule per guy. Again, we're not dealing with big figures here, so a very little money could distort the market. There's been a bit of money for Ascaria 10. That could well be that in the last few days that's been backed each way. Was favoured for the Ultima, but if they go here, he would have a decent chance. Galvin, you can see if it's going to if he gets his ground, then he's a solid opposition. There's been a bit of money around for Willie Mullins' horse as well. So again, I think it's people trying to second guess what's going to happen with Rule per Guy.
Yeah.
And when you're second guessing into a relatively illiquid market, it's probably never a good thing. So powder dry for the moment for me here.
Powder dry here. Just to warn you all, I'm going to be asking you at the end of each day for your naps, your lays, and your long shots for each day. So get prepping now, Tony and Barry. Whilst Andy, I come to you for the National Hunt Novices Chase.
Yeah, it's a difficult race for me to look at now because I thought I'd unearthed a really good one, and I'm really annoyed that it's not running. Longhouse Poet. I backed it at 33 to 1 about a month and a half ago, and it was 7 or 8 to 1. And it didn't even get declared. I've been told they're going to run it in the Irish Grand National, having said all along that this was going to be the target. But anyway, it's so much up in the air. I'll be mildly interested in Remastered if they run here instead of the handicap, because a lot of 10 of their last 11 winners have run in a graded race. So you need to have a bit of class to win this. And I thought his performance when winning the Reynolds Stand the other day, beating De Machine, was a good one. His last circuit work was as good as the 2 mile 5, the Grade 1 chase on the same card. So he was operating at a good level. And I think this race, given it's cutting up, I think it'll be a lot easier to win than the handicaps. And the handicaps are a lot more tougher with, running against similar kind of novices. So he'd be interested. But I think Galvin's the one for me out of the front end of the market. We can all suffer from recency bias, don't we? And because he hasn't run for the thick end of 5-6 months, we almost forgotten how good he was, or how good he is. But yeah, he's 4 for 4 this season, or this season starting back in autumn. He was really good when he won here, and they stepped him up in trip pre-Christmas. They've put him away. He goes really well fresh, and I thought he was a bit unlucky beyond Imperial last year in the 2 mile 4 race. The change of stable is not ideal, but it's not ideal for a lot of the horses that have been moved around, shuffled around in the last few days. So I'd probably still stick with Galvin and have a mild look at Remastered if he was to come here. But not a race I've got a great viewing now. I've done my money already.
Galvin is best priced with Betfair Sportsbook at 7 to 2, and that is non-runner money back as well. So, probably a better way to play this one than on the exchange. That brings us to an end of our Tuesday preview, and as I mentioned, just going to ask the guys now for their best bet and their nap, their nap and their lay and their long shot. So Barry, I'll come to you first. What's the nap for Tuesday?
My nap's going to have to be Honeysuckle. I'm with her all the way. My each way is going to be Captain Guinness in the Arkle, and my lay has to be Appreciated because I fancy Ballyadam. So at the price, I'll be taking on Appreciated. I hope he gets as close to even money as possible.
Well, at least that means either you or Andy, but we'll be right come 2 o'clock on Tuesday.
That's the game.
Tony?
Start with a lay. I would never recommend, although I've done it myself, I wouldn't recommend laying at 4 to 1 because obviously you're playing at 1 to 4. But I will be looking to lay Goshen in the place market. That would be my lay. What else are we doing? We're doing Longshot.
Nap. Yeah.
I'm going to go in again, Soaring Glory, 8 to 1, 4 places. Hope the race cuts up. Hope the owner sees sense. I'll be disappointed if he can't finish in the first 4 and nick a little bit of a profit. And I wouldn't rule out a win whatsoever. And we're looking for a long shot as well.
Yeah.
Home Public in the Boodles. I think if you can get 20 to 1. Again, he's in the Triumph as well, so make sure I'd rather take the 20s if it's knocking around non-runner money back than 25s outright or 25s on the exchange all in. So yeah, home public, but take out the insurance just in case they decided to really swing the bat and go for the big one, which I don't think they will. But.
Home public with the insurance, as Tony says, for him for his long shot. And Andy, over to you.
My lay at the prices would be Shiskin. I'd be quite happy to lay that around the even money mark, given it's a strong looking Arkle. We've made cases out for Energumin, All Mankind, obviously a big player, and Captain Guinness and my Franco de Port. Look, it wouldn't be hurtful if it won. Laying it at that kind of price, and like I say, you've got 4 genuine horses running for you there. My best bet is Concertista, even though she's probably terrible value now at 5-4, 11-10, or whatever she is. But I just think she'll win. And my each way poke is Sharjah in the Champion Hurdle. I think he's just blatantly the wrong price.
Well, there we have it. That brings us to an end of our Tuesday preview. The oddschecker Cheltenham Festival 2021 preview, sponsored by Betfair. We're now going to be recording our Wednesday, Thursday and Friday previews, which will go out both on YouTube, on the oddschecker channel and on all podcast platforms. So if you've enjoyed this, please do watch those. Hopefully we've given you a few angles to work with on Tuesday. Make sure you check out the Betfair Exchange and the Sportsbook. Do download the oddschecker app as well for all the very best prices, best bookie offers, and of course you'll get Andy's tips straight to the app every morning of Cheltenham, or maybe even the evening before sometimes, Andy, when you're on it. Please do gamble responsibly and enjoy the racing.